It's a case that shocked the quiet college town of Davis in the spring of 2023. Several people stabbed, 2 people killed, and an unknown suspect on the run for days. Hello, I'm Laura Painter, and welcome to this ABC 10 Plus special looking into the Davis Stabbings investigation and trial of suspect Carlos Dominguez. Here's a brief timeline of events. On April 27th, David Breaux was found dead in Davis's Central Park. 2 days later, on April 29th, UC Davis student Karim Abu Najim was stabbed in Sycamore Park. Then, a homeless woman was stabbed inside her tent on May 1st. She survived. That third stabbing helped police determine these cases were connected. Finally, on May 4th, about a week since the first attack, Carlos Dominguez was arrested. It was almost immediately after learning the names of the victims, an outpouring of support from the Davis community and beyond was seen. On April 30th, 2024, a year since the death of Karim Abu Najim, a vigil was held by his family. ABC 10's Becca Habiger was there, learning their emotional story.
Here in Davis's Sycamore Park, a deadly stabbing took the life of 20-year-old Karim Abu Najim exactly a year ago. He was walking home on this very path when he was randomly attacked. But now this path is renamed for him, just one of many ways the community is honoring his life. Imagining a life without Karim Abu Najim.
Nadine and I, we lost our son.
Something his parents never thought possible.
In about an hour, it will be exactly 1 year. To me and to many here, time stopped at that moment.
Flanked by more than 200 members of the Davis community, Abu Najim's parents unveiled a memorial bench honoring their son near the spot where he was killed.
May the trees whisper his name and the birds sing his glory. May the stars shine his light and the hearts carry his story.
A memorial bench, walking path, and public art, all signs in Sycamore Park that Karim Abu Najim's life will be remembered more than his death.
We grieve as a community, and we heal as a community. And once more, your presence is a great solace to us.
And his memory will help students in the form of scholarships.
Together, we have managed to start 3 awards at UC Davis that inspire change, innovation, creativity, and collaboration, all inspired by what Karim stood for.
It's truly amazing how the family has been so strong in the midst of this tragedy. What a shining light they have been.
For the community to come out and to honor the memory and also to see their tremendous strength. It's just been very, very moving.
Abu Najim was the second victim. The first was David Breaux, and 2 days ago the community remembered his life. May 4th marks 1 year since the suspect, Carlos Dominguez, was arrested.
Just days before Karim Abu Najim was remembered by family and friends, the first victim, David Breaux, was honored. On April 27, 2023, the city of Davis named the corner of B Street and 3rd Street Compassion Corner in David's honor, echoing the art bench project he created in 2013 to create a gathering and listening space. His sister talked with ABC 10 and had this to say about her late brother.
David was someone who reminded us we are capable of compassion no matter who we are, no matter what walk of life we come from. And he just was a constant reminder that compassion can live and does live.
The memorials for the 2 victims came exactly a year after each of their deaths. Now let's take a look at the day Carlos Dominguez was arrested. Here are the details from ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen on May 4th, 2023.
We've made an arrest.
It's what the Davis community has been hoping for all week after 3 people were stabbed and 2 of them killed.
That would be 21-year-old Carlos Dominguez.
During a press conference today, Davis Police Chief Darren Pytel says Carlos Dominguez was a UC Davis student up until last week. Chief Pytel credits the community in helping officers track down Dominguez yesterday afternoon.
Yesterday afternoon, we had about 15 callers over near central West Davis, near Sycamore Park, and they reported seeing a person who matched the description.
Sycamore Park was the location where police say Dominguez stabbed and killed UC Davis student Karim Najim on Saturday night. 2 days before that, police say Dominguez stabbed and killed David Breaux at Central Park. Then this week, police say he stabbed a woman in her tent at 2nd and L Street. When police found him yesterday, he was just a few blocks from Sycamore Park. Chief Pytel says he was wearing nearly the same thing when he committed those crimes and had a large knife in his backpack. Police also say Dominguez lives at a home near Hawthorne and 8th, just a few blocks from Sycamore Park.
Just about an hour ago, placed him under arrest on 2 counts of homicide for David Breaux and Najim, Karim Najim, and for 1 count of attempt murder.
Police do say there is evidence the victims fought back because Dominguez had injuries on his hands and wrists. Following today's announcement, Davis Mayor Will Arnold assured the community that they can finally let their guard down.
The individual believed to be responsible for these horrific, brutal attacks is no longer free to terrorize our community.
Then, the next day on May 5th, Dominguez made his first appearance in court for an arraignment. ABC10's Becca Habiger was there with the latest.
We think the family of Carlos Dominguez was in the courtroom today, but let me tell you what we know. Dominguez's defense attorney met with a group of people after the hearing. Now, it's not uncommon for a defense attorney to meet with a defendant's family after such a hearing. We also recognized at least one of the people in the group from photos of Dominguez with his family that we have found on social media in recent days. But when we approached the group to ask about Dominguez, this is what they had to say.
No conocemos a Carlos, no sé por qué están preguntándonos de él.
We don't know Carlos. I don't know why you are asking about him, he says. Another man adds, we tried talking with the people who had conferenced after the hearing with the public defender representing Carlos Dominguez, seeking any information we can get on this young man accused of murdering 2 people and attempting to murder a 3rd. In a hearing that started at 1:30 and lasted less than 12 minutes, Dominguez appeared handcuffed and sullen. He kept his gaze downward, speaking only when the judge asked him a direct question.
Mr. Dominguez, is that your true name?
Judge Daniel Woke read the charges, 2 counts of murder with enhancements for willful, deliberate, and premeditated murder and using a deadly weapon, and 1 count of attempted murder with enhancements for premeditation, using a deadly weapon, and inflicting great bodily harm. The prosecutor also added case enhancements for multiple murders, the violence of the alleged crimes, and the suspect's danger to society.
Your Honor, I would acknowledge receipt of the complaint, enter not guilty pleas to all counts and denials to all enhancements.
As for the question of bail, it was originally set at $4 million, but the prosecutor asked the judge to make Dominguez ineligible for bail, so he would have to stay in custody for now.
It took 2 lives and it almost cost a 3rd person their life. Given that the danger that the defendant represents to the public, I would ask that no bail be set.
The judge ultimately sided with the prosecutor. We asked the defense attorney and the prosecutor for comment after the hearing. Both declined to comment. Dominguez is next in court on May 22nd at 9 a.m. here at Yolo Superior Court.
Then, during one of his first hearings, our cameras caught an outburst from Dominguez that raised questions about his mental state. Here's a clip from court, June 20th, 2023.
I want to apologize and I want to say I'm guilty and forgive me for...
Hold on, sir, you have a 5th Amendment right.
At the time of the outburst, Dominguez had already pleaded not guilty to 2 deadly stabbings and an attempted murder. His statement in court that day was not used against him or entered into the court record due to his not competent status at the time. Then, months after making his first appearance in front of a judge and the outburst a month prior, Dominguez's competency hearing started. That's when we learned more about his mental state around the time of the stabbings. In July 2023, we heard from a former girlfriend and a former friend.
He had said that the devil was talking to him in his dreams.
Did it ever occur to you that he might have a mental illness?
Yes.
I was with Carlos, and he asked me if I have ever heard voices before.
And how did you respond?
I told him no, and I asked him if he has.
And what did he say?
He said yes.
Following the competency hearing, Dominguez was initially found not mentally fit to stand trial. But that ruling was eventually overturned in January 2024, and a trial date was set for 2025. That brings us to April 28th, 2025, the start of the trial for Carlos Dominguez. It was during this time we heard opening statements from the prosecution and the defense. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias was there in court that day.
The trial of Carlos Dominguez began Monday with the prosecution giving their opening statement in front of 18 jurors at Yolo County Superior Court.
To understand why this is going to be proven to be a deliberate, willful, and premeditated murder, you're going to need to go back further than when this kind of first comes to light, before David is found in the park.
Dominguez is accused of stabbing 3 people back in 2023. The victims include 50-year-old David Breaux, who was known as the Compassion Guy. He was sleeping on a bench in Central Park when he was killed on April 27, 2023. The second victim was 20-year-old Karim Abu Najim, a UC Davis student who was walking in Sycamore Park when he was stabbed to death on April 29th. Then on May 1st, a homeless 64-year-old woman was stabbed in her tent but survived. 21-year-old Carlos Dominguez was arrested days later and is now facing 2 murder charges and 1 charge of attempted murder. His attorney, Daniel Hutchinson, said in his opening statement that he wasn't disputing Dominguez did the physical acts causing the deaths, but the events leading up to them.
The question to be answered in this trial is not one of who did it. Rather, the question that will be presented to you is what was Carlos Reales Dominguez's specific intent and mental state when he did those physical acts?
He says Dominguez got sick at some point before the incidents, but didn't recognize he was sick. He would later be diagnosed with schizophrenia. 2 men who found Davis's body at Central Park also took the stand and shared the conditions they found him in. The prosecution then ended the day with employees of the Davis Police Department detailing evidence from the day they found Breaux at the park. The defense is asking jurors to reserve judgment until they hear all of the evidence.
Please keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, that this trial is not just about the physical acts that Mr. Reales Dominguez did, but also what was happening in his mind when he did them.
It was on day 3 of the trial when we heard for the first time from the sole survivor, Kimberly Guillory. She painted a vivid picture of the moment she was attacked. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has the details from court that day.
Are you the one that was assaulted? Yes. What happened? I don't know. He just ripped open the tent and started punching me, and then he went to one of the other tents and the other tent.
Davis stabbing victim Kimberly Guillory was visibly shaken in court on Wednesday after prosecutors played the audio from her 911 phone call on May 1st. The 66-year-old, who was homeless at the time of the stabbings, took the stand for about an hour and a half, recalling what she was doing earlier that day. She says she was visiting a friend and returned to her tent that night when it was dark. She remembered everyone at her campsite being asleep, and so she went into her tent, sat down, and started looking at her phone. She described someone coming up behind her where she was sitting and coming down on her with a knife. Guillory says at the time she wasn't sure she was being stabbed and thought someone was just punching her. At first, it took her breath away, and then it continued, and that's when she began to feel pain. In court, Guillory said she began screaming, and her friends from the campsite came to her rescue.
They came running towards me, and that's when they grabbed him and started fighting with him, trying to get a hold of him. I turned around and Isaac said, "Oh my God, you're bleeding." And then all of a sudden I felt blood just gush out of my back, the back of me. And that's when it really started to hurt.
Guillory also described seeing Carlos Dominguez's face through the opening in her tent made by the knife when she was being stabbed. Following the attack, she says she spent several weeks in the hospital, and it took her about a month or 2 to fully recover.
I do remember him looking at me, though, with this look like this, like he was angry that he wasn't able to continue doing what he was doing.
You can watch the full video of the opening statements and testimony from Guillory on the free ABC10 Plus TV streaming app. Follow the case's latest major developments on ABC10.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Laura Painter. See you next time.